Yeah, we on that thing right now. We just got live.
Okay, hello, 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 everyone.
So what time it is? Famous Friday.
Yes, we have
That's
the man of the hour.
so Catholic Church. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to Famous Friday. Today we're joined by Illinois attorney, businessman, and U.S. Senate candidate Don Tracy. With longtime Senator Dick Durbin retiring, the Senate seat is open, and for the first time in decades, Illinois voters will decide new representation in Washington. Don Tracy says he's running to represent all 102 counties, but not just Chicago or Cook County, and to fight rising costs, public safety concerns, border security, and what he calls the extreme agenda, driving up the cost of living for everyday Illinoisans. Born in Urbana, raised in Mount Sterling, and have raised his own family in Springfield, he argues that Illinois needs a senator who understands rural communities, farmers, small businesses, and working families across the entire state. We're going to talk about who he is, why he's running, and what makes him different from the career politicians he's running against, which is on the worst.
First.
Roger, I don't know his last name. Juliana used to Strat and, and Robin, Earl, Kelly. How did I feel? Do you know any of these people?
I do. That's a heck of an introduction. One of the most unusual, but one of the best.
All right, we're here. Okay. So, before politics, who was Don Tracy and how was your family describe you?
Well, I'm the oldest of 12 children. My mom and dad met at the University of Illinois. Dad was fresh from World War II. He was a Marine. And mom was a farm girl. They both were actually farm kids. And according to the way Dad tells the story is that they met at the Newman Center, Catholic center there, and he saw this girl struggling to dance. It's not exactly the way Mom liked to describe it. And they married and raised 12 kids, started a business. It's been very successful that my 11 brothers and sisters and I now own, and in a small town, and they stayed together. And it's been a real blessing for our family. The family business has kept us together. But I think the biggest blessing that they did two things. The two biggest blessings are they stayed together, and they gave us a work ethic because they made us work whether we wanted to or not from an early age. I started working at age 10 in the family warehouse, the family business warehouse, which then was a 2-car garage. And my brother, so I call myself employee one. My brother was started the same day, same time, Saturday morning, 7 a.m. as I remember. But he was only 9, so I guess he was employee too. And I've worked at our family business since then, and I still do some work from then. Then in the warehouse, now as a lawyer, in between as a truck driver and salesman.
That's amazing because and we're going to get to that because the with us and with the problem we're having is small businesses leaving. Businesses are leaving. So the fact that you were able to keep your family business this long, that's amazing. And I wish that we could have that. But this prior administration won't allow us to. But we'll get back to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've practiced law for decades at Brown Hayes where Abraham Lincoln once practiced. What has the experience taught you about leadership and public service?
Yeah, I've practiced law for more decades than I care to admit. I started out in Memphis, actually, where we were last Monday, I think it was. Was awesome. No, I didn't see any. I think Brady, my age, saw one or two. And the Memphis experience with the federal law enforcement surge and ICE and Border Patrol and the National Guard was totally different than Chicago or Minneapolis. Everybody I talked to there said it was great. The Memphis Safe Task Force is what they called it. And they brought in all kinds of agencies, FBI, DEA, the uh, National Guard, the Border Patrol, ICE, and I think a couple others I can't even think of right now. And as a result, people were saying the streets are safer. A lot of the career criminals are off the street. They were able to execute a lot of outstanding warrants. And they arrested in total 5,000, over 5,000. They removed over 1,000 illegal firearms
Yeah,
from the street, lots of narcotics and contraband, and they found 150 missing children,
yeah.
which people don't really talk about.
They really don't. They really don't. Talk-
Uh, there's the thousands and thousands of them that have been missing as a result of the Biden open borders policy.
Mhm.
So it's been a real success down there, but the key to that is that the local authorities have been cooperating and helping the federal law enforcement surge. And so has the governor, because he called out the National Guard to support the effort. It's worked, as I understand it, equally well in New Orleans. I was in there a couple months ago and saw no sign of any chaos or disorder. And the surge was going on then. That was early December in New Orleans. DC, I understand, it's what's working well there. And in Florida and Texas, just throughout the country, it's working everywhere except in the sanctuary
Right.
blue cities.
And the prime and the thing about it is, to me, what's most important to me is it's not just politicians or law enforcement that's telling you that crime is down or you're safer. What you have seen is videos of real residents, and this is the most important thing to me. Real residents are showing that they are safe. They can walk down the street. Some residents, and I was never able to walk to the store, and my kids are outside playing. So that's important to me because this is our experience. You can't tell us crime is down like they're doing now and it's safe when we have to go and we know we might get shot. So that's, we've been seeing videos, but that's what it looks like when you have an administration that's really willing to work with the federal administration and that's really thinking about the community. So that was very good what you talked about because that does show a contrast with Chicago and Illinois with the rest of them.
And Minneapolis, yeah.
Minneapolis, yes.
Yeah, Danielle, that's right. I mean, the stats are really impressive, crime being down 50%, murder down 50%, and that sort of thing. But, it's the stories of the people that are experiencing that, that feel like the streets are safer I mean, our Uber driver is saying that the exact same thing. The streets just feel safer now.
Right.
And public safety, if the government can't provide public safety, what does it do? What are they doing with the taxes? That should be the first responsibility of government, is to promote and provide public safety. And I know that the crime has gone down here in Chicago. I think the stats show that. At least murders, I think, have gone down, but the other crimes, and I may have this mixed up, but some of the crimes have gone down, some have not. But regardless, it just doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel safe when Bethany McGee gets burned alive on the red line by a career criminal, having been arrested 72 times. And that was just a few days, I think, after Brady, my aide, and I were riding the red line right down there in downtown Chicago. And then I think it was after that, a lady was wheeled off in her wheelchair and off the red line. I think it was red line again, and then pulled off her wheelchair and raped. They haven't released her name, so I don't know that. And while we were there, I'm in Chicago a lot. I'm downstate. I grew up in Mount Sterling, Western Illinois, where there are more deer than people. But I raised my family in Springfield. But as state chairman of the Illinois Republican Party, I spent a lot of time in Chicago, and I'm spending even more time now as a candidate. So I'm sleeping in downtown Chicago just a couple of months ago when they're having the tree lighting ceremony. You know what happened there.
Yes.
I was just a few blocks north of that when that happened. And then, one night I was walking out of a building there, and the doorman for late dinner, and he said, "Be careful." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Watch out for the little kids."
Right.
And I said, "What do you mean little kids?" He said, "Gangs, little kids who, if they catch you alone, they will beat the hell out of you. It's not exactly what he said.
Mhm.
And steal everything,
Yes, they are.
everything you've got. And I had a friend that happened to, too.
Mhm.
He was a lawyer too, and he was walking back from dinner in the Loop. This was few years ago. He lives in Quincy, down in Western Illinois now, but takes the train up to work. Well, come from a client dinner, and a couple of people waylaid him and beat him up, broke a few ribs,
Mhm.
really messed him up, put him in the hospital.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're experiencing. That's it. And a lot of times, those crimes, when you're talking about the stats, you know, most of the time, when you shootings and things like that, we just don't report it. When it's in our community, we really don't. So it's not that it's down, it's just that we are not reporting it because, yeah, because it's not going, nothing's gonna happen.
Danielle, do you think the fact that we don't have shot spotter anymore here, that would lend itself to some underreporting?
That's it, because with, now, just to be honest with you, I talked about this. When you normalize these things and gunshots and when hearing gunshots become normal to you, you don't call. I remember when I talked about a few months ago, 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard a lot of gunshots, and I called. And first of all, it take the 911 operator to 40 rings for them to even answer. But I called. But think about everybody who don't call, because it is because of the way I feel about crime and what's going on. But if I'm just somebody who just normalize this, I don't call, because it was times that I didn't call.
Yeah.
So this is what
They're
they're not going to come. So this is what we are experiencing. That's why it's hard for people to tell us. What I don't allow anyone to tell us what's going on in our community, but they don't have to walk around and live that experience. But
Right.
when you can say, you know what, I understand that, which most Republicans and things do, because the Democrats just try to, lie. And
Yeah,
that's
gaslighting. It's a fancy term.
Yes, but
I guess.
but most Republicans, they admit that, and they're talking about things they're gonna do, and you can see it in the red states.
Right.
So, yeah.
And obviously, hearing shots in the middle of the night, like my daughter did, she went to Chicago Kent College of Law to get her law degree. She first she graduated from DePaul, and then she got recruited for Teach for America and went out to New York City to teach in a rough neighborhood there. Then came back and taught at the Bronze Charter School, Bronzeville.
Mhm.
Bronzeville Charter School here, and then decided she would go to law school. So she went to law school and then and married a chef that she met in New York, and then they had their first child, a grandson, Charles, and they were living, I think it was in the Logan Square area. It was not downtown, but fairly close to downtown, and they heard shots most nights.
Mm.
You sure you want to live there? So now she lives down in downstate near Springfield and Jackson. But at least less people think that Memphis is a different city than Chicago. It's a fairly large city. I think it's 1 million or so. And it's a majority Black population. It is a murder capital.
Yes, it is.
I think it's the second highest in murders per capita in the United States. And I was robbed at gunpoint down there. So I don't consider Memphis an inherently safe city. It's a lot like Chicago in that regard. And anyway, I mean, when I say gunpoint, I had a gun right there.
Wow.
And a gentleman, young man, in a face mask and all that, just going, ooh, 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 ooh. And he had my umbrella that he pulled out of my back seat, because it's a 2-car garage. It was raining, and so I got in, put my umbrella in, got in the car, started to pull the door shut, and it wouldn't shut, and looked up and had a gun. And then he had the umbrella jamming me in my groin and going, ooh, ooh, ooh. But I didn't have to hear his words. I knew what he wanted. So I slowly gave him my cash and my wallet. Fortunately, he took off. That's all he wanted.
Well, thank you that you're here with us. Woo. You made the argument when Dick Durbin retires, all statewide officials will be from Chicago or Cook County. Why does that matter?
Well, it matters because as much as I love Chicago and I have a place in Chicago, and I spent a lot of time here in Chicago as a lawyer over the years, working with the Illinois State Bar Association and with the Secretary of State's Corporate Acts Advisory Committee and other law-related events. And I even handled several lawsuits up in the Daily Center. For some pretty big, interesting lawsuits. So I spent a lot of time here as a lawyer. But then when I was chairman of the Illinois Gaming Board for almost 5 years, I had an apartment in River North, and I spent a lot of time up here. And then for almost 4 years, chairman of the Illinois Republican Party. I spent a lot of time here. Now I'm spending even more time as a candidate and I have a place here. So, I mean, I love Chicago. I love coming up here. And I've come up here for fun. I just brought my grandkids up here right around the first of the year to take them to the Shed Aquarium and to the Museum of Science and Industry down here in the Hyde Park area. Because I had taken my kids, I have 4 kids, and I brought them down here before. And one of those 4 kids is now their mother. And we love spending as much time as we can with those kids. And it's fun to take kids to those places. And so I love Chicago and Cook County and love the suburbs, but there's 102 counties in Illinois.
Right.
And why should one county have all 8 statewide offices?
Right.
Traditionally, the seat that Durban has been the downstate U.S. Senate seat. There was never anything, no agreement, no gentleman's agreement, nothing in writing on that. It was just kind of traditionally the downstate seat. I think Alan Dixon had it before. So that's why I say what I say. I'll represent all of Illinois, not just Chicago, suggesting that the 3 leading contenders on the Democrat side, they're all Chicago, Cook County as well. So if I don't win this seat, and they do, it's going to be all 8 Chicago, Cook County. And actually, most of the candidates in the Republican primary are from Chicago. Maybe all of them.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
Maybe all of them.
No.
All the Republicans,
Denise, no.
and except Denise Law, but she spent some time up here. So of the 5, 4 out of the 5 other candidates for the Republican nomination are Chicago, Cook County, but Denise is not.
Okay.
And so she spent some fair amount of time up here, kind of like I have. I guess.
He's running for Dick Durbin's seat, U.S. Senator. That's what I asked. Pulled up.
Yeah, what I like to say when I'm going to Republican meetings is that I'm running for U.S. Senate to replace Dick Durbin. Anybody here want to replace Dick Durbin?
I do.
The crowd, it rolls
Yes.
usually.
I do. Because what you see with him is he's more concerned with bringing dreamers to his, and let them speak and talk to his forums about what they need and what's going on with them. And I said, you know what? That would be good to have some kids from Chicago or Illinois to come and talk about what the situations they're dealing with, American kids. But it seems like the Democratic Party, they're more concerned with illegal aliens and things like that than they are with the real citizens that they're elected to serve.
It does. It sure does seem that way, and I haven't figured out why that is, unless it's because Illinois is losing so much in the way of population that we're going to lose 1 or 2 congressional seats after the next census, and so because of because of the state's high taxes, high Democrat taxes for the most part, especially property taxes, they're horribly high. And because of the anti-business attitude and anti-business regulation and the, unacceptable level of corruption
Right.
in this state, it's driving businesses and people out. And the only way they know how to replace them is by bringing illegal aliens in. And they do that by setting up a sanctuary city, saying, we're not going to let the feds enforce immigration law here. Whatever it takes, we're going to keep them from doing that. And also, we're going to track you here with not just free medical care, but also with government benefits in the form of food stamps, in the form of cash in a lot of cases, and other benefits. And these things cost money.
Yeah, us.
they cost money, they cost the citizens money in the billions of dollars.
Yes.
I think the free healthcare alone, that Pritzker authorized was, I think it was estimated to be $500 million. It turned out to be closer to $2 billion.
2 billion in 2025 alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I think it's just because they're trying to replace taxpayers with illegal aliens.
illegal aliens. And
So they can do their sick communist agenda in a capitalist society with the 80s babies. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Or 86? You're nuts.
I hadn't thought about that way, but also by driving out the taxpayers, you're probably driving out an awful lot of Republicans.
Right.
Because I know as state party chair, I had a list of prior donors, like donors to the Governor Brown's campaign. He was, the last governor to win statewide here in Illinois, and maybe some donors to Senator Kirk, who was the last Republican to win a U.S. Senate seat. And I just had lunch with him today, and he has endorsed me, by the way. So I had a good list of these prior donors, but it seemed like half of them were in Florida.
Yeah.
It's a little discouraging,
Most people are moving. Most people and businesses are moving to red states. But what we have with these blue states, this is why we keep telling you guys, you have to be very careful. And communism is here because what you just said is when you bring a bunch of people here who are beholding to you, then that means you keep them. And what happens? They're gonna vote blue, and they are going to make sure that they keep in a Democratic stronghold in these places. So that's what's happening. And like you said, 2030, the census coming. So they're going to have these seats. So when you look at everything, they are doing things for the long haul. They're thinking ahead. We must, as citizens, guys, Americans, get Republicans in these seats who's thinking about us.
Right.
And what's in our best interest. So yes.
Right. And can reverse some of these lousy trends for America and Chicago and the state of Illinois.
And when you think about what's going on, it's not as many people are on government assistance as they keep portraying. There's a lot of people that are working, that are trying to build families, do not want to be dependent on the government. So now they have to bring an influx of new people in who, at the end of the day, it's like giving somebody some candy, giving a kid a candy to keep drawing them in. And then eventually when they get older and get fat, because you gave them all this type of candy and all this stuff, they're dependent on it, So that's the problem. A lot of people, we were becoming more independent. Even it's because we're not born in Jim Crow. We're not born in racism, division. I was born in Albany, New York. When I went to school, I was the only black student in there. You know what I'm saying? I played basketball. I was the only black person on my basketball team. There was nothing race, you can't, it was color coded there now. Right. So I know I was born free, just like everybody else was born free in our generation. So they don't have anybody to as slaves.
Yeah.
These are the new slaves. And I hate to say that word, but
I call it multi-generational welfare dependency.
That's it.
And then if you have to get somebody hooked on dependency like that, if you're feeding them, clothing them, and housing them, then of course they're going to vote for you and support you. It's interesting what you said there, Zoe, about being the only black student in your school. I belong to a club in Springfield called the Frontiers International Club. I don't know if you have one like that here, but it's a black civic club, and we sponsor the Martin Luther King breakfast every year in Springfield, and it's one of the bigger ones. I think we had 850 people there, which for Springfield is a really, really big breakfast. And for many years, I was the only white guy in that group. So that was for a boy from Mount Sterling growing up in a county that was 100% white until they brought the president. It was a unique experience. It's been a great experience. I've been a member of that club for over 20 years now. And we have a couple more white guys. that have come in, and but the only problem with the club is that I'm one of the younger guys.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, we need more young blood to him. There's Kevin Corbin. He's a good man. He's probably our youngest guy. And he was a bat boy for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh,
And now he's a financial broker, but he's probably 40 something.
oh, yeah, that's what youngest.
Yeah,
You're young.
yeah.
You're a young guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And it's just these are just great people. And the program that we run there, our best program, is not just the breakfast. It is a mentor program for young Black males, 6th grade through high school.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And they are taught how to what, put a coat and tie on. They're
That's
taught
it.
how to interview for jobs.
That's just it.
They're taught how to avoid claims of sexual harassment.
Mhm.
And they are taught how to public speak
That is amazing.
by
Yes.
members of our club. I'm not one of the mentors, but I've attended some of those sessions. They're Saturdays and Sundays. And one guy in particular is a total a hero that does it, Derek Stapleton. And he's there every other Saturday and every other Sunday teaching these kids. He's like a second father to me. And he's not alone. There's 3 or 4 other retired guys that do this. And these kids, when they graduate, and I go to every graduation ceremony and I participate in the graduation ceremony. And these are kids that they're going to, the Marines or the Air Force Academy or West Point. They're going to be an engineer with Hampson Engineers. I mean, these are
Because those
good
things
kids.
that matter, it seems so minute,
Yeah.
but like you said, we were just talking about that. We're CPS. I'm a product of CPS. Speech, people talk about how, because certain words I can't pronounce, I used to stutter, I was embarrassed to read out loud, things, so I had to self-correct with everything. And this is what people are seeing now. They may say something about the way I talk, but this is what we're dealing with. But when it comes down to real life situations, like you said, a tie, putting on a tie, just learning how to public speak to people, learning how to just balance a checkbook, things that we are going to really need in life, not going out protesting, hating nice, but the CPS is teaching us. These are things that's so important to me that you said that, because in our community, do you know how many kids don't know how to tie a tie?
Yeah.
Or don't even know the
Right.
words of speaking
Right.
proper English? We was taught when speaking proper English, you were trying to be white.
Yeah.
I used to always get that growing up. Like if I go down, I told her to raise my white people. I've been raising my white people. So when my mother would take me to see my cousins and stuff when they're interested, they'd be like, "Why you talk so white?"
See?
Yeah, they used to say that about the studies.
Yeah.
Trying to go back.
Right.
Yeah,
And
it's
this is what we are trying to, in our community, what we are trying to correct. And so when you said that, I just thought about that. That's interesting.
Some of them don't even know how to shake someone's hand.
Yeah.
Look
no
people,
etiquette. We don't have
people in the eye. And
Right.
I've heard from a couple different places this week that, for example, last night, Sheriff Mendrick's running for governor, and he's the sheriff of DuPage County. And he said half the people in his jail that he brings in jail can't read or write.
Mhm.
And I heard someone else say about the Cook County Jail that a large, he didn't give a percentage, but a high number of the people that are in their jail, that come to their jail for the first time. Well, maybe not the first time for them, but and when they come in, they can't read the charges. They don't know how to plead to the charges because they can't read them. They'll get a lawyer to read them.
Yeah.
I can see that's how.
And then how can you avoid a life of crime if you don't know how to read and
Can't.
write?
You know,
And so that's the other part about this welfare dependency, or this cycle of poverty, et cetera, is the lousy education system. CPS seems to be more of a jobs program
Yeah.
for adults that, I don't know, maybe don't have the kids first in their
A certain time,
interest.
yeah.
And so as a result, you have all these kids that can't read or graduate
Mhm.
without reading and writing. I mean, you would think at a minimum, you wouldn't give somebody a graduation degree if they can't read and write. Is that too high a
No,
standard?
it's not. And this is what we're dealing with. This is it.
for real.
If you get out of high school and you don't know how to read and write,
What if you?
how can you support yourself? How can you support a family?
You can't.
And that's another one of my, my interests, because I happen to think the breakdown of the family in all communities. It's not just the Black community, it's not just the Hispanic community, not just the white community, it's the Asian American community too. I mean, all open, it's happening in this country at an alarming rate. Um, when I was born, the rate of fatherless children
Mhm.
was, I think, around 3%, 3 or 4% for all communities. Now it's up to 40,
Yeah,
over 40.
probably. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
because the government think that.
yeah.
That's right.
That's what they're pushing.
Exactly.
It's the policy.
Right. And that's part of this welfare, multi-generational welfare dependency system. And it's a corrupt system because the quid pro quo, as long as you vote for the man being Uncle Sam, I guess, with the government,
Mhm.
you're gonna get your veins,
Yeah.
know? And then, but then you end up being trapped. You're trapped.
You're trapped
You're trapped in that system.
in that
And
cycle.
you can't get out. So you're never gonna get, any more than
Yeah.
what the man says you're gonna get.
And you're gonna stay poor and trapped in poverty with no way out. It's just a cycle.
Right.
I'm gonna keep
Poor
voting.
education,
I'm gonna
yeah,
keep voting.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that is
At
it.
this point, I ain't gonna say it, but I'm doing my Tom Booth show.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But this time, like Mr. Gregory said, it's a lot of people that are in special school. Maybe special school for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you talking about Gregory, the comic?
Big Gregory.
Mhm.
Wasn't he from Peoria, Illinois?
Oh, no, that was Richard Pryor.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, I get those two.
The funny is, but the Gregory from St. Louis, but he got started at the Playboy Club.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking Richard Pryor, because we just drove by a statue of Richard Pryor down in Peoria.
Yeah, that's my favorite comedian.
Yeah, no.
He's a funny guy.
We need him right now.
Yeah.
Dick Gregory too.
Yeah.
We need both of them
Yeah.
to explain how foolish we are. What sets you apart from the rest of your Republican candidates? Who we have? We have Dr. Pamela Denise Long, Jean D. Evans, Casey Chalek. I saw you
Yeah.
three, Jean Evans, Casey Chalek.
And
that's
then
amazing.
yeah.
Mr. Cap.
Make sure you all go check out make sure you all go check out that debate
Yeah.
as well too, because we was there and
Yeah, you and Jean Evans
Last
did good.
Oh, you were at the ABC. We had one last night, 5:60 a.m. is last night.
oh, you all
We've had two others since then, two League of Women voter.
oh, we got posting. We got
We've had three League of Women voter.
Okay.
Ones. We had one, you saw ABC 7. Then we had one in Peoria, one in Palos Hills,
Oh,
and then one last night in near Downers Grove.
Okay. Oh, I didn't. Yes, the
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
We can see it.
that's my favorite question around the state is there anybody running against you? I hear that a lot. And then the other variation is who is running against you? And what I say a lot of times is that well, I really don't want to say their names because I'm afraid I'm going to double their name ID.
Right.
Because they're not well known.
Yeah, I know. So
Because
that's a good.
all of them, right? They're inexperienced politically, except a couple of them have run before, but none of them have any governing experience, and a couple, three of them are very new to the Republican Party. So that's why they're not known, and that's why I've gotten like over 100 endorsements up and down the state. The entire congressional delegation, it's only 3 Republicans, but all 3 have endorsed me. I have gotten endorsement from every township in the Chicagoland area that has endorsed. I think it's 6 or 7 of them. I've been endorsed by every Republican legislator in Illinois that endorses, and that's most of them. And none of the others have a single Republican legislative endorsement, a single township endorsement. My home county is Sangamon County. I have an endorsement from about 30 people there. I mean, almost every one of the elected Republican officials in Sangamon County has endorsement. None of the others have a single home county endorsement. Now, Chicago, Cook County, would be tough to get a Republican endorsement because there's so few. There's only one countywide Republican, and that's Sean Morrison on the Cook County board, and he's endorsed me. not the four other candidates from Cook County. One of the reasons why is I've been involved in Republican politics for a long time. I've been helping elect Republicans and supporting them for over 20 years, including my sister-in-law, Joe Tracy, who was a state senator down in the Quincy area. And then I was state chairman for 4 years and gaming board chair for 5 years. So I'm better known. And a lot of these people endorsing me, I've known for 5, 10, 15 or more years. And in politics, people don't realize it is a relationship business. You know, the problem with people that come in from the new, all of a sudden, they just show up, when it's nomination petition time, is they see politics from as an app, from an outside perspective. It looks like an app. All you need are opinions and they're willing to run for office. But politics is a lot more complicated than that, as I think you two know, or from your experience here. It's more like an onion. There is layer after layer after layer of it. And so, most people that come in out of the cold, jump into politics at a fairly high level sometimes, even though they don't really know what they're doing, get wiped out in the primary. And if they don't lose in the primary, they lose in the general. Every now and then, some of them will make it all the way through. It's unusual. But if they do, it's because they don't know when they get into a governing situation, they don't know who they can trust.
Right.
And they don't know who they can't trust, because they don't know the political ecosystem. And it really is a relationship. I think one of the reasons why President Trump had a harder time in his first term hitting the ground running is that he had some political experience, building buildings in a Democrat controlled city like New York, dealing with really strong unions there, and maybe having to avoid the mob somehow. He was a prolific donor to
Right.
mostly to Democrats, before he ran. So he knew a little bit about the political ecosystem, at least in New York City. But then he gets into Washington and he's got thousands of appointments to make. And you don't have a lot of time to make these.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know who he could trust and who he
Right.
couldn't. So he made a lot of appointments that backfired on him.
Sure did.
Jeff Sessions was the worst. A fine gentleman. He was a great senator from Alabama, but he didn't know what the hell he was doing as an attorney general. And so they were totally unprepared for the onslaught of litigation.
Right.
That's why they kept losing cases left and right. And that's why a special counsel was appointed that haunted Trump for 4 years. And that's but that's because, on the outside, it looks so simple. But knowing people is important. Governor Rauner I was in the Rauner administration, in effect, because he appointed me chairman of the Illinois Gaming Board. And I actually formed an independent committee to help elect him, because of campaign finance rules drafted by the Democrats. I could not support even my own sister-in-law when she ran for lieutenant governor.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was the largest shareholder in my law firm. And then when Rauner beat, it was Kurt Dillard. You remember Kurt Dillard?
Mm-hmm.
Kurt Dillard was running for governor, and he selected my sister-in-law as lieutenant governor.
Okay.
They ran the primary in 2014 versus Governor Rauner and Evelyn Sanguinetti. And when Rauner Sanguinetti won, then I did what you're supposed to do as a good Republican. You rally around the flag, you lock arms, and you go forward and support who won the primary.
Right. And
so I changed the name of my PAC or independent committee, whatever you want to call it, and I started raising money and doing ads for Rauner, saying we're ready. And then he asked me to be chairman of the Illinois Gaming Board. I didn't ask for a job. I didn't need a job. It paid $500 a meeting. It was a big job too, and paid about $3,000 to $5,000 a year. But I said, do you have anything else? And he said, well, we'll get back to you. Well, it's actually his general counsel. And so they called back a couple weeks later and said, we'd really like you to be gaming board chair. So I surrendered and I did that. So this is a long way of saying, I supported the governor, and when I was I was running the gaming board. It's a 250 person agency, cops and accountants mostly. They did not interfere with our operations. We were really ran it like an independent agency. And so I'm a Rauner fan, but he came out of private equity, and he had a little bit of school politics, but he hadn't run for office before, so he didn't know the political ecosystem too either. So he didn't know who to appoint to these positions.
Mhm.
He didn't know who to trust and not to trust. They were calling me all the time for like to head this agency. Can you tell me somebody to head this agency or that
Like they
agency?
did with Trump.
Yeah, and I didn't know enough of the people to help him with. And as a result, he did not fire a lot of the double exempt employees that even under the Rutan decision, he could have fired without any legal issue whatsoever because he didn't know who to replace him with. And there were two problems with that. Number one, those people were rock solid Democrats. They were Pat Quinn, Rod Blagojevich Democrats, and they weren't there to help.
No, they wasn't.
They were, and the fact they were undermining it.
You're right. That's yeah.
It should have, an empty position would have been better than leaving that there. So that was a mistake he made. And then, and the second reason that was a big mistake, there were good Republicans around the state who could have done those jobs. He just didn't know who they were because he was a newbie kind of to politics. So it's a long way of saying that it is important, to kind of have that experience is important, both in getting elected, but more important, even in governing, when you catch that car.
Right.
When we took a picture with you, when we went to your announcement, we got so many text messages. Oh my God, why would you take a picture with Don Tracy?
You know
this, he gave money to Joe Biden. So can you explain what that is? Because that's there was nothing else they could say. Oh, you gotta go what you guys are doing. And that was it.
Yeah. Have you ever heard misinformation?
Oh,
yeah, I know. I asked myself, but I
Disinformation
wanted to say because they always would keep saying that, right?
lies or damn lies
Mhm.
or gaslighting. I've never given a dollar to Biden, okay? Or Kamala. That is a total, complete lie. I don't know who originated it. The other lie that was going when I was chairman was that I was backing Richard Irvin. I never endorsed Richard Irvin. I never even met Richard Irvin until he was already the nominee, pretty late in the game too. He got in February and the primary was in June. And I met him in a men's bathroom, which sounds kind of bad, but I was at the Lincoln Day dinner in Peoria. He was coming out, I was going in, and that was the first time I ever met him. So I never endorsed him, I never supported him, I never helped him. And they also accused us of using our mail discount to send out Irvin mailers.
Mm.
Do you know what that is? The mail discount?
Mm-mm.
All right. The state party some people call it a medallion, but basically it's a discount. If the Illinois party, either the Democrat Party or the Republican Party of Illinois sends out a political mailer, they get, I think it's a 50% discount on postage.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like a lot unless you're sending out 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
John, just posted
Yes.
alone. So it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this line, I heard it just as recently, about 2 weeks ago, when I was at an endorsement session for Illinois Family Institute. By the way, I got the endorsement. And an old friend of mine brought it up and said, yeah, why did you do the Irvin mailings?
So that's
And I said, what? Because we didn't.
right.
That is a total lie. It's been floating around. It's been pushed by, I think the Illinois Review has been pushing it. And I said, Irvin sent out thousands and thousands, maybe millions of mailers. If they had used our discount, our code, our discount code would be on that. And I've challenged anybody saying this, give me one piece that shows the Illinois Republican Party postage discount code. Nobody, not one, has ever shown up.
So that's just
Because it didn't happen.
Just like we're
Yeah.
getting paid.
That's not what get all the
Yeah, it's get paid.
Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter.
the Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what they did give me, and I'm probably getting too much into the weeds here, but what they did give me was a mailing by the party in support of a candidate that was supported by the Republican House Caucus
Mhm.
or the Republican Senate Caucus. But that's because our policy at that time was that we would do mailings for whoever the House Caucus and the Senate Caucus wanted to be elected.
Mm.
That's dangerous.
And that gets into another thing about the ecosystem, because, when you have a bad election like we had in 2022, who are you going to blame?
Right.
Well, the chairman of the Illinois Republican Party is someone everybody knows about.
You gotta
But,
be.
but it's a bigger ecosystem than that. The Illinois Republican Party is really the Illinois Republican Party, but it's not just, it's also the House Republican Caucus, because they're the ones who recruit candidates for state rep and fund them, give them money, help manage their campaigns.
Right.
The Senate does the same thing. The Senate caucus raises money, recruits candidates. We don't do that for them. Operate with them on mail-ins and things like that. And then you have all the county parties, 102 county parties and 20 or some township parties. And then you have the individual campaigns. And I know a lot of people were upset too because they saw that Ken Griffin. You ever heard of him? Yeah. So he was gonna beat J.B. Pritzker with like $150 million. Okay. So they assumed that was like party money. And then I had a couple people ask me why after Bailey won the primary, why didn't I give some of that $150 million to Bailey? But it wasn't my money. It wasn't my money. That's Ken Griffin's money.
Right.
And he was going to put it on his candidate. When his candidate didn't win,
He said, what up? Yeah, I'm not here.
that's what I say. Politics is so much more complicated than it appears to the casual observer. And a lot of people, come to politics late as casual observers, and they think it's simple, but it's not. But I don't mean to discourage people from getting into politics. I think everybody should run for political office. It's just so important. It makes you a better citizen, and it makes for a better country. But you shouldn't start out at the highest level, like U.S. Senate or governor or even state rep or state senate. And I committed that senate. My first race, I ran for state senate. I had no idea what I was doing. I was so naive looking back on it. Start out as a precinct committeeman if somebody wants to start getting involved. Then maybe library board, school board. Well, there's a thankless job and a hard job,
Yeah.
but the most important, probably
Right,
public
most
office.
important.
There is.
Yeah.
And then, county board, though that's a really big office here. But in the smaller counties, it's not so big. So I know everybody should run, but start out at a reasonable level,
Okay.
depending on how experienced you are.
Property taxes.
Yeah.
They're on the rise, and we cannot afford it.
Yeah, we have the highest rate of property taxes in the country here. And that is, of course, totally a state issue. Federal government didn't do that.
Right.
I would love for the state of Illinois to do some kind of study or explain to people exactly why property taxes are so high. And part of it is that the state government has shifted a lot of the burden of government services to local municipalities that have the power to tax property tax. So, for example, unfunded mandates, the state legislature, they love to do unfunded mandates. And then they pay nothing. They tell a school district or a hospital or a city what they have to do. They have to spend $10,000 on this, $20,000 on that. They give you no money. And then, they share revenue, from the sales tax. And it seems like every year or so, they pull back some of that share. Maybe it used to be 10%, then it goes to 5%. And then what's the city or the school district to do? Property tax.
Property.
Go up. Education, there was an argument at one time that the state should provide, and it's based on the Constitution, that the state is obligated to provide a majority of school support, of school funding, 50, which would be 50.1%. They're nowhere near that, I don't believe. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Actually, probably since I ran for state senate, 15, 20 years ago. But at that time, I think it was in the area, the state support in the area, 30, 35%. Wasn't even close to 51%. Who makes up that difference? Property tax.
Yeah.
And then Illinois has more units of government than any other state in the union. By far. More than California, more than Texas, states that are much, much larger. And many, or most of those, certainly most of them, maybe the great majority of those units of government have the power to levy property taxes. And then, the unique situation here in Chicago, I'm a property owner in Chicago now, so I just bought too recently. So I'd have a place here for this campaign. And I'm gonna be paying, through the years, because the valuations in the loop, have gone down so much. And they pay, I think, a rate that is twice residential, 2 or 3 times residential. And as those go down, that's gonna shift more of the burden over to us
Yep.
residential
Us.
owners. I mean, in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars.
So what would be the solution? Like what?
Well, again, that's a state issue
Okay.
from a
Saying.
federal office.
Yeah.
And I think you need to ask Ted and
Yeah.
Chair Rick and Darren
Yeah.
that question. But I think what they're gonna tell you is that instead of going from a state budget of 36 billion, like when Pritzker inherited the budget, to 56 billion now,
Mhm.
$20 billion increase, I think it's over 40%, when real wages went up way less. Maybe the state should stop coming up with new expensive programs, tighten their belt, and share more of the revenue with the local municipalities and pay more school funding so they can lower property tax. I don't know how else,
Yeah.
Hell, she
You
do
can
it.
talk to Ted.
but on this, I don't have a graph on this, but I do know this, is that if someone was making $38,000 a year when Pritzker came into office, and the budget was 38 million, just make it kind of semi the same number. Real wages have only gone up from 38 to 40.
Mm.
So your wages have gone up from 38,000 to 40, but the state budget went up from 38 billion to 56 billion. What does that tell you?
Mhm.
Illinois doesn't have a revenue problem.
The spending problem.
Exactly.
Yes, they do. You're right.
On, give Chris,
So one thing we can do is, obviously, we do provide resources, educational resources to the state to some extent, and law enforcement resources and things like that. And as a senator, I will focus on making sure that those monies are better spent than they seem to be.
Yeah, that's
out.
school. Yeah, yeah.
And maybe with some more strings, for strings. I mean,
that we some reform.
Right,
Yeah.
we don't want to control, I believe in local control, but we do want to have better
Right.
anti-fraud guardrails. And
Yeah.
we want to check on them
Yeah.
every now and then. We don't want these programs on autopilot.
Not every now and then. We
Yeah.
know.
Like-
They need to be checked on. Like,
Well, like TANF is a
Yeah.
program that was started in the 60s.
yeah,
And I don't know that it's been updated since.
I don't think so.
And now a lot of states are using that as a slush fund, not for
Yeah.
training people. Stuff like that I would focus on as the next US senator.
Like you said, the education system, that's it. Because most of the property taxes that we can pay goes to that. And mine looked at mine went up. Schools are terrible. So I think it should be
That's why you got really good part of
education.
because the people on, like, as you being running as a U.S. senator, and if you get the seat, they would have, like, the senators and the U.S. congressional district, they would have to figure out a bill
Mhm.
to some type of TIF reform, because the property tax,
That's it.
TIF money goes to the schools, right?
That's right.
So they would have to figure that.
That's another problem. A lot of school money is going to TIFs.
Yeah, yeah.
And that becomes a slush fund for the local mayor.
The mayor and the alderman and the
Like
NGO is sick. That's why I said, yeah.
NGOs, that's another issue. A lot of that money is going to NGOs instead of to the schools
Yes.
and local villages and municipalities and counties.
Yeah, so we need you to.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that they are a lot of them are not very accountable. If accountable at all.
At all. That all.
You can't FOIA an NGO.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can FOIA a school district.
But you can't
Yeah.
afford it, yeah.
Yeah, you got, like, it's, man.
Yeah.
You gotta give a inspector, you gotta see, we got our own inspector general on our team to get the NGO money.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause we figured it out.
Church money.
Church.
Yeah, yeah.
So since What do you feel about the sanctuary? Oh,
No, go ahead. No, look.
How much longer we got, guys?
like 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay.
Yeah, so sanctuary cities, your stance on that real quick.
Well, I think they're illegal. I don't know how you can just say that you're not going to allow federal law to be enforced in your state or your city. The Democrat governors of the southern states tried that with the civil rights law. And President Kennedy and President Eisenhower, fortunately, did not let them get away with
Right.
that. When governors were standing in the doorways of universities
Right.
and state capitals and courthouses and high schools, our presidents said, no way, you're gonna just say you have a sanctuary city
Right.
for racism.
Right.
We are going to enforce federal civil rights law, whether you like it or not.
Wow.
And I mean, that's what President Trump is saying to these sanctuary cities. But you've got to do it. It's a hard thing to do, I'm highly confident that that Tom Homan, the borders are under Obama, got an award under Obama. Really knows what he's doing. I've met him a couple of times. He's an amazing guy. And with him in charge, I think he's going to figure out the best way to enforce immigration law in sanctuary cities. He's not going to give up. I know the other side, they said, oh, we won, they're going to give up. They're not going to give up. They're just going to find a better, smarter way to enforce federal immigration law in these sanctuary cities and states. And these northern Democrat governors are they're not gonna end up any better than these southern Democrat governors is. But why is it always these Democrat governors that decide they're gonna reject
They
federal
gonna
law?
reject federal law.
Just law to themselves.
Just under Trump,
Yeah,
because nothing else, just under Trump. Okay, so real quick,
Oh,
okay.
Alexi Julius, what was my name?
Gianellis.
Gianellis.
Janice, oh.
Gianellis.
Okay.
Yeah, Alexi.
Uh-huh.
Alexi the scammer. I wanna know, how do you feel about what just came out about he was selling illegal CDLs, whatever, they do that, and no one's talking about it, but when when they said George Ryan did that, they immediately got him out. Is that, was ready to get him out, and no one's talking about what he did, which if he did that, I feel like that's the same thing he did with George Ryan.
Yeah, well, yeah, it sure sounds the same. Well, I have my own race to run, and so I don't want to get too involved. I don't want to get involved in other races or situations. But I will say this, and that is that there's a bill pending now in Congress, in the House or the Senate, I'm not sure which, to prohibit states from issuing CDLs to illegal aliens. And I, of course, will fully support that. Did you see the State of the Union address? You may recall the little girl, Delia,
Yeah.
5-year-old girl who was sitting at a stoplight
Mhm.
and got rear-ended by an 18-wheeler driven by an illegal alien with a CDL. I think he got it from California, but I'm not sure about that. And that's not the only example of that happening. So I will wholeheartedly support that bill.
Okay, is it something, real quick, when you first get in office, what are the day one things that you're going to say, okay, this is what we need to do. Roll up them sleeves and get going. Just day one. First 100 days.
I don't know that I can point to a specific bill, but I can tell you my priorities and my interests are, I just don't like cheaters. I don't like people who cheat the system, whether it's bucking the line or gaming a welfare system. And our welfare system is being gamed. We do not have enough anti-fraud guidelines in our 80 federal welfare programs costing $1 trillion a year. We do not have enough anti-fraud guidelines in our healthcare system that's approaching 18% total healthcare expenditures of GDP, GNP. It's going to bankrupt the nation. There's something about that. Immigration law obviously needs to be fixed in many ways. And so those are three of the main priorities.
That was good.
because those three things, if those things are not done right, they can destroy our nation. And they are destroying our nation. So those would be my priorities. And they're gonna be, it's a tough road to hoe, but we got to do it. We got to start working on that. Because if as Elon Musk thinks that 10% of federal expenditures are going to fraudsters, that is a big,
Yes, it is.
big number, hundreds of billions of dollars. And if that is true, the best way to reduce the deficit is truly by eliminating fraud, waste, and abuse. And having my legal background as a lawyer is engaged in significant discovery, depositions, interrogatories, and all that stuff, digging for the facts. And as a businessman, as well, having to make payroll sometimes when I couldn't. And having, been, counsel to a lot of boards, trying to make, save every dime so they can make a profit.
Right.
I think I have the skills necessary to really dig into that and figure out a way to cut the fraud in all these programs
Right.
and the waste.
That's good.
Well, you are a legend in the, Illinois.
Okay, let's not get carried away, Zoe. Yeah, I'm what, you can try to steal my wallet. I still got it. Getting nervous, you get real nervous.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm staying now. I was saying, but yeah, I think that, we have some great candidates running. I do know that, you being an attorney is very important, and, you being a business owner as well is very important. You knowing of Chicago, and you could maneuver here and don't be afraid and stuff like that, and then can go down to Springfield and they know you on both sides of that, so that's a plus. So I just think that we're definitely going to make sure Republican is in that U.S. Senate seat, and then Tammy Duckworth, count your day.
Yeah, she's.
Unfortunately, she's got one more year.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I thank you, Dick Durbin, for finally realizing that
So,
you may lost. And yeah, he probably do. He probably needs to lose.
Yeah.
All right, then. Thank you.
thank you. Is this something?
Thank you. Last thing I'd like to say, please vote on
Mhm.
March 17th. It's the last day to vote. You don't have to wait till then. You can vote right now, but please vote. Turnout in primary elections is way too low. And you can't have a strong democracy unless you have more people, unless people vote. If you don't vote the wrong people, don't complain because
Right.
the wrong people got elected if you don't vote.
Right. Anybody else, where can they find you at? Do you have any
Don-
events coming up?
You can find me on the website, dontracy.com. We just did our last debate last night for the primary, but I'm all around up and down the state, everywhere. Not hard to find. And I have a great staff here, Brady Wilson and Kathleen Murphy, and you know how to get a hold of them.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Tracy.
Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. It's great to see you.
Thank you for coming.
Really performing in public service by interviewing candidates.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you for taking the time.
All right, guys.
Thanks, you.
All right, love you all, and yeah, make sure you share this, and we're going to maybe try to post some more of your work. Yeah, because I like the debate you had when we was at. It was a great debate. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. Love you all, and America first, Americans first.
Yeah,
Thank you.
vote March 17th and before.
Mm-hmm.
Vote.
Red down
Vote.
ballot.
Ready.
Down the ballot.
Vote early and often, and by that I mean vote in the primary and the general.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So should we, and we, guys, in order to do this, we do really ask you all to pull a Republican ballot, because the other options are Juliana Stratton, Raja, and the other people. And this is, come on, guys, we need this Republican.
Because it's, all they're running is balls and ice, and that's impossible.
Nothing else.
And that's delusional.
And what, F Trump?
Yeah, help.
Yeah, they're running,
And a bunch of nice.
Yes,
None of that help us.
when you have no good arguments, that's what you do. That's what you run on. If you have no arguments.
Yeah.
You can't defend, Democrat dysfunction, mismanagement, waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. You have to go with the F word,
Yeah,
F-bomb, right?
Blame Trump.
Yeah.
So he just got in office. So yeah, please pull a Republican ballot, guys. And yes, if you all like what you heard today, then Don Tracy, I'm sorry. I said Don Tracy.
My youngest sibling might resent that. My youngest brother is Dick Tracy. I keep,
Don Dick-
his name is Dick Tracy.
So Don Tracy, guys, so yes.
All right, thanks.
Please, me.
All right.